Hi YouTube community, my name is Morgan Edwards and today I'm going to fill you in on how the unemployment rate is calculated and why it may not be the best measure to calculate or to measure if Australians today have enough work or are getting enough work. And the answer would be no. We'll take you through why that is the case. So bear with me. In creating this video, there's been a lot of data I've had to sift through and to find out, and definitions and everything else, and why everything is connected. And I've tried to absorb it, and I'm going to try now regurgitate it, if I can use that word, to you guys. So about 26,000 households are randomly selected from different states of Australia to participate in a survey that is pushed out from the Australian Bureau of Statistics. Basically, that same household will complete a survey for 8 months running straight, which is the reference period, and then it will go on to someone else. And so each month there are new households coming in and other households going out. It is completely random as far as I know, so there's not any bias there, and they just select different states. So it's a measure of each state and its participation of workforce or work people. Basically, for each one person that completes the survey out of the 50,000 people that complete it, that represents 312 different Australians for that one person. So obviously they're surveying 50,000 people from 26,000 households, and there's 26.5 million Australians in Australia. There's an international organisation called the International Labour Organization, and basically just like countries sign up to the UN, countries can also sign up to the conventions under the International Labour Organization. They don't necessarily have to sign up to all the conventions or protocols that is laid out, but they can sign up to certain things. Now, in one of those protocols or one of those conventions basically says that 1 hour work equals employed. Now, again, countries don't need to sign up for that, but Australia has signed up for that, and that's not a recent thing. That's been like that for actually a number of years. So the International Labour Organization does protect the rights of workers, and they seek to protect people's rights and works and against forced labour and child labour and certain things like that. And so countries sign up to say, yep, this actually seems legit and good, and we don't want to do that. So we will sign up to you to say, hey, as a country, we don't do these bad things. And so Australia signed up to protect rights of workers through the International Labour Organization. One of the things that has come of that is that we have accepted the definition, which we didn't have to do, but we've accepted the definition that 1 hour of employment equals employment. Effectively, that's what it is. So 1 hour of work means that you are employed, and technically they're right. However, 1 hour does not actually really amount to anything that could support a middle-class working family in Australia. So with the house prices the way they are, and the food and the electricity and just all these bills and everything else, 1 hour would not get anyone through probably a day in the middle class of Australia anyway. However, just for data, it's good to have a common feature, and they've had to draw a line somewhere so that we can compare our data against other countries. And so for many other countries, 1 hour equals employment as well. And it's just the way it is to help compare data, basically. Now, obviously, when we look at unemployment at 4.2%, if that counts for everyone working 1 hour or more, that's one of the reasons why it is actually so low the way it is. And for me to give you more detail on this, I need to dig a little deeper, so bear with me. Okay, so first of all, the labour force consists of people in the labour force and people not in the labour force. People in the labour force are people that have got full-time work, part-time work, and also unemployed people. And they are in the labour force because they are looking or actively seeking for work. However, if you're not in the labour force, that means you are not working because you're maybe permanently disabled, maybe you're retired and you don't want to work, and maybe that you just don't want to work in general because you can afford it, or because you have been discouraged from looking for employment for trying so long and couldn't get work. So you are in the labour force if you are actively seeking work, but you're not in the labour force if you're not seeking work. And so unemployment equals the unemployed people in the labour force over everyone else in the labour force. And then what we do with that number is we multiply it by 100 to give a percentage, and that percentage comes up 4.2%. Well, actually for me it came up 4.3%, but the Australian Bureau of Statistics says 4.2%. So they somehow, maybe there's an alteration somewhere, they got 4.2%. But that obviously is not a fair indicator of people that do not have or that are getting sufficient amount of work to provide for their family. So for me, for instance, who has lost the job as a teacher, I am now working a little bit of Uber and also tutoring online, and my hours have dropped considerably and really only just making ends meet, or maybe not making ends meet entirely. It's definitely not even close to what I was earning as a teacher. So taking that into consideration, I could be wanting more work, and if that's the case that I'm wanting more work, then what I would be considered is underemployed. Underemployment equals people wanting more work over the labour force, and then we get 6.7%. So we've got unemployment of 4.2% of people who are not employed but actively seeking employment, who have 0 hours a week. We've got underemployed people that we've got at least 1 hour a week but wanting more. Okay, so 1 hour could be working right up to a full-time job but wanting more work to provide for their family, and that's at 6.7%. So what I would say is a fair indicator of people wanting more work in Australia is the unemployed plus the underemployment, so 4.2% plus 6.7%, to give us a total of 10.9% of people wanting more work in Australia. That's basically 1 in every 10 people in the labour force that wants more work, and there's not enough. And so when we look at 10%, that's actually quite a lot of people that are actually wanting more work in the labour force. Now, as we know, state governments have put in a lot of restrictions. They've restricted a lot of people and closed down businesses and drive uncertainty, particularly around work for everyday Australians, which hasn't been good. Now, usually this would typically end in a recession. So economists were saying like even house prices were going to drop like say 30% because of all the restrictions and loss of jobs and income. But it actually went up. And like last year, the house prices just boomed. It went up so much. We gained like 20% extra on the equity of a house. It was just nuts. We didn't see the recession that was probably actually going to happen. One of the reasons why is because the government support packages of say $130 billion for JobSeeker went out, and so people were being paid to look for jobs when they lost their jobs because of the restrictions by the government. And so we didn't have that downturn or the recession, and so our unemployment rate is still quite low, and our government debt has skyrocketed as well. So as our government gives out money to the people, they spend it and can put it back into the economy to create jobs and employment, which has kept employment relatively low. But again, employment at 4.2% is only calculated against everyone that's working 1 hour or more per week. So if you're working 1 hour or more per week, you are employed. Only the people that are actively searching for jobs that are not working 1 hour a week are counted in that 4.2% in the labour force. If you're not in the labour force, then you're not counted towards that 4.2%. I did want to touch on the last couple of months, because what led me down this rabbit hole of looking at the unemployment rate really was seeing that a lot of teachers were laid off over the end of the year, and we can see that there's not many or not enough teachers in states at the moment. Looking at all this data, was wanting to see the difference of unemployment between December and January. Now, the unemployment rate actually didn't change. It stayed from 4.2% to stayed on 4.2%. And that teacher like me who lost their job as a teacher has picked up still other work and is working 1 hour per week or more in another area. And so I would not be considered unemployed because I'm working another hour. But I could be considered underemployed if I was seeking more work. And so there is a difference that happens. So although unemployment rate has stayed the same, the underemployment rate has gone up 0.1%. And I'm going to show you some details now. Over the year end, there was a lot more people sick than has previously been over the year end. In fact, looking at over the last 5 years, there's been more people off sick this year than sort of ever before, which is crazy to see. 476,000 people did less hours because they were unwell, while 350,000 people did 0 hours of work in January compared to 1 year ago at exactly the same time. There's actually been a big difference between this year and last year of people that were sick and doing less work. Okay, and also over the year end, there has been 150,000 people with zero more people with zero employment and 150,000 people doing fewer hours because of unemployment over just the December-January period. Mandates from health, construction, there's been actually a lot of areas where mandates have kicked in, and that has really fluctuated with employment levels, including restrictions on cafes and restaurants and going out. A lot of business closures and unemployment or fewer hours have happened across those times. Particularly we see that in New South Wales, where they've lost 35,000 people, and Victoria 75,000 people. They've actually moved to other states. So what do we know? We know that 50,000 people are surveyed, and that represents 1 out of 312 Australians. And so any details or any data is indicative only of really the greater working economy. We know that the Australian government has not recently made or changes to the 1 hour per week equals employment. That's been going on for some time. We know that the 4.2% really isn't a great indicator of people needing more work in Australia or wanting more work, but only shows the people that are working 0 hours. When we look at people wanting more work, we need to add the unemployment rate to the underemployment rate to make a total at the moment of 10.9%, chasing after more work. And that's really a great picture of our jobs at the moment. Now, we know the job market has soared and there's so many jobs available, but for many people, they are locked out of those jobs at the moment due to restrictions. So what can be done going forward? Well, it'd be nice if the government could relax a lot of the restrictions to let people go back to work, but obviously they've got some health concerns about that, and maybe agenda for themselves for voting, etc. For the elections coming up. Finally, I hope this has clarified some things for you about the 1 hour equals employed, and just to give you a quick breakdown of why this is the case. I have certainly learned a lot going through all the data. I welcome you to please go through and do a search for yourself to see what you can find if you are interested in this area. I want to thank all my subscribers and the people following. It's a great boost of encouragement to see that there's some traction, I guess, being had, or that people are liking the videos. The amount of support I've got is, I think it's huge, and it helps me to create further videos as I want to continue to create more videos for you. I'm looking at getting a bit of a different setup going and hopefully streamline some workflow to help make some videos, but it's a learning process for me. This is again my second video, and I just want to thank you for watching and tuning in. If you made it this far, I really appreciate it, and any support or like or subscription really helps motivate me to create more videos like this. If there's a topic you'd like me to cover, please just add it in the comment section. I'll have a read and then I might do that. I've got some more videos ideas, and I'll be creating another video for you guys. Thanks again for watching, and God bless.